Conor Garland rides to the rescue as the Canucks shuffle out of Buffalo with a 4-3 overtime victory. A lot to talk about. Let's get into it. This is Rink Wide Vancouver. Vancouver Canucks defeat the Buffalo Sabres 4-3 in overtime. Black Friday, also known as Conor Garland Day around these parts, as one of the smallest Canucks comes up big, doing it all for this hockey club, a career high in ice time. He scores the winner after he had scored the go-ahead goal. He also had an incredible assist that we'll get into. It's Jeff and it's Irf with you here. And yes, it's a bit of a strange start time on a Friday afternoon, so peel away from work or, I don't know, maybe get the boss and put the live stream on the boardroom computer, whatever the case. We're here to break it down as we do after each and every Vancouver Canucks game and Rink Wide. A presentation of Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Be sure to use code NATION when opening an account. We talk about them all the time, the hustle, the energy. Now it's coming with incredible production and finish for Conor Garland. Whether it's Garland, whether it's Quinn Hughes, whether it's Kevin Lankinen, they all figure in this thing, but all three of them bidding to be the team MVP right now. And Garland's had some nice nights and afternoons for the Vancouver Canucks this season, but I'm not sure that he has ever come up bigger than he did here in this one against the Sabres.
Yeah, Conor Garland's not an unsung hero for this team. He is their hero. 20 points.
We're going to be singing about him a lot.
In his last 22 games, Conor Garland for the Vancouver Canucks. And he's doing everything, right? You got the absence of Brock Boeser for some time. You have the absence now of JT Miller. And Conor Garland has remained the Canucks constant. You're going to get everything and more from Conor Garland night in and night out, and he's proving that. I mean, we're just next to see, okay, is Conor Garland going to score a goal this game? And every time we sit here and talk about it, he definitely does. But yeah, definitely lots to get into. Excited for it, and yeah.
They start life without Filip Hronek, and we wondered what would it look like. Well, I think the first 40 minutes kind of an indication of the way they actually want to play, minus one of their top defenders. This was pretty low event on this early start time, and I think that was quite fine for the Canucks, to be perfectly honest with you, although they had 8 shots on goal near the end of the second period. They were able to pepper, I got to be careful when I say Ukko-Pekka Lankinen. So the shot total at the end of the period, they actually outshot the Sabres 9-7 in that second period, but it kind of looked a lot like the game in Boston the other day for about 40 minutes, and then this thing exploded in the third period. Garland on the power play, taps one in the blue paint, and nifty little pass from Brock Boeser. I want to spend some time talking about Brock Boeser and that Brock Boeser that looked like the old Brock Boeser back on his game. Boeser with the assist on the Garland goal, that made it 2-1. And then moments later, Garland with the double pad stack to block the shot. Puck bounces to the neutral zone, and Pia Suter skates onto it, snaps it home on the breakaway for his 8th of the season, and that put the Canucks up 3-1. And you looked over at me and said, just see this thing through.
That's an easy out.
Just go quietly here, take your win, and move on to Detroit. Well, nothing comes easy for the Vancouver Canucks, and Dylan Cousins had other ideas. He gets a couple of goals, ties it up, sends it to overtime. The Canucks possessed the puck for 90% of overtime, but the best scoring chance prior to the goal, Tage Thompson on the doorstep, and Kevin Lankinen made one of his 31 saves on the afternoon. Maybe his best. I think you could say it was his best because the Canucks go down the ice, and it's Garland from Hughes. 3:59 of overtime. Garland's second of the day wins it for the Vancouver Canucks, who are now 12-7-3 on the season, and incredibly 9-2 away from home.
Yeah, and Jake DeBrusk also another road goal for the Vancouver Canucks. I think that a lot of people looked at this game and said, what kind of game is this going to be? With the early start, didn't really know what was going to happen. And then you lose Filip Hronek, so there's another blow to the team. But, they came out, and to their credit, they played a pretty solid hockey game up until the final 9 minutes of the game, Jeff. And I think that that's what, you can take and package that and say, okay, there was that, but the hero and the contributions from Conor Garland can't go unstated. I mean, you look at the way that double stack there, putting his body on the line, getting in front of the net, to where no one wants to go to be able to score both his goals in this hockey game. I mean, Tyler Myers, we'll talk about that chance as well, I'm sure. But yeah, Conor Garland is definitely the biggest talking point of this hockey game.
He's just so much fun to watch because, you never think, okay, conventional goal, not really. basically had to lift his back leg as he was spinning around in the blue paint, but found a way earlier in the game. And it was just a tiny little thing, but it was very Conor Garland as well. As he collected a puck on the breakout in his own zone, the puck came from behind him, and he put his stick down on the ice horizontally as the pass sort of came through his legs, and he was able to collect it and then move to the attack. Just some of the things that he does that are so unique, but make him such an effective player. And again, the Canucks needed somebody to step up here, and Conor Garland does that. He's got 8. Suter has 8, so they're now tied for the team lead in this derby that changes on a daily basis because they got so many guys that are right there knocking on the door. Jake DeBrusk scored his 7th of the game earlier on a nifty play to tie the game at 1, a rebound late in that second period, and that gave the Canucks a little bit of life when you started to wonder if they were going to score in a game like this one. So they get 4, they win the hockey game, they pick up points again here, bounce back from the Pittsburgh loss the other night, and they're 3-1 on the road trip, so they've guaranteed themselves a 500 trip going into Detroit on Sunday morning, and then Minnesota's going to be tough on the final game of the trip, but boy, if they can get a result out of Detroit, then the game in Minnie is pretty much gravy here on this U.S. Thanksgiving because they have 3 wins already in the first 4 games on this trip. Let's get to the 3 stars of the hockey game, a presentation of Greta Bar YVR. And I don't think there's much doubt Conor Garland is the first star of this hockey game. We talked about the fact the 2 goals and an assist. That tells some of the story. Garland plays a career high, has never logged more ice time in the National Hockey League than he did this afternoon. 23 minutes and 37 seconds. He had already set a new career high earlier this month in Los Angeles, the end of that California road trip. He was up at 22 and change. Here he goes, 23-37, including overtime. The game winner and 6 shots on goal as well. Like, he really did have his fingerprints all over this result for the Vancouver Canucks.
Yeah, I got no problem with with any of that there. Obviously, Conor Garland. Brock Boeser, look, we were a little bit critical of him last game. Maybe looked a little tad slower. I thought he played well in this game. He obviously, old Brock Boeser, meant look at the past and whatnot there, but he kind of got his game back, moved up in the lineup as well. So a little bit better line mates that he was playing with. I think that helps as well. So nice to see him kind of get involved there on the score sheet. He had 2 shots on net as well. So good for Brock Boeser there. And Cousins always seems to, he had a really good start to the season. His shooting percentage was so high. He had like 6-7 shots a game. He was all over the score sheet, especially taking the penalty. He got 2-minute hold call and then a 2-minute unsportsmanlike penalty. Yeah. So that kind of...
An eventful third period for Dylan Cousins, who is our second star. We can get the graphic back up there, Mike. The 3 stars, we didn't get a chance to run through them. Conor Garland, Dylan Cousins. Cousins looks like he's 8 feet tall in the graphic we've got there. Maybe it's because he's beside Conor Garland. Brock Boeser with the 2 assists as well. Those are the 3 stars. They're brought to you by Greta Bar YVR. And we always say this, if you're looking for a place to watch Canuck games, make sure you check out Greta Bar YVR. You have to experience it. All of the big screen TVs, not a bad seat in the house. You got the arcade games, terrific street food, weekly drink specials as well. We hosted our first Canucks Army watch party there last month, and there is some talk about another one coming up in the works, so stay tuned for details there. Greta Bar, the place to be. 50 West Cordova, Greta Bar, let the games begin. And back to Brock Boeser for a sec here, because it sort of felt like there wasn't much happening in the first period. Mm-hmm. That line of Pettersson with DeBrusk and Sherwood at the tail end of the homestand in the first game in Ottawa, they were lights out. But the juice had sort of disappeared for that line. There wasn't a whole lot happening for them. I know Petey had a goal and an assist the other night in Pittsburgh. DeBrusk has been scoring here. But Kiefer Sherwood, who, again, you're not going to knock the guy's effort, but on a well-deployed team, isn't designed to be a top 6 forward, right? Like, in a pinch, put him up there, some energy, and he had provided that. But I think it was the right call by Rick Tocchet and Brock Boeser. 2 games back after missing 7 with the concussion. We were going to give him a little latitude. Said, like, it's going to take a little bit of time to get up to speed here. This looked a whole lot more like the Brock Boeser that we know, the guy that has been such an integral part of the Vancouver Canucks really since he broke into the scene and had his 29 goals as a rookie, the 40 goals last year. Loved the play that he made on the first Canuck goal. Mm-hmm. Gets the second assist, but he's the one. He's in front of the net, and he reads and reacts to the play perfectly, recognizes there's an opportunity to go to the sideboards and force a turnover, and he does just that. Puck winds up on the stick of Suter. He gets the shot away, and DeBrusk beats Bowen Byram to the front of the net and is able to poke it home. And so sometimes you say, second assist. But no, in this case, like, that was a huge part of that play. And then Boeser makes the nice feed to Garland on the power play.
Yeah.
Moments after that, Boeser himself sent in on the breakaway, and you would have loved to have seen him score. His goals will come. But I just like the fact that he was on top of the game. He was on the puck. He was around the scoring plays. Sort of welcome back to the lineup, Brock Boeser, even though this was his third game back.
He was assertive, right?
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
I think that was a big one.
Yep.
You mentioned Kiefer Sherwood. What's he doing? He only had 3 hits in this hockey game, right? So
Getting soft.
Yeah, I mean, maybe not that. But yeah, I think that changing the line, I think Rick Tocchet obviously probably saw something and, needed to move Brock up. And I think that when you do that, you obviously put better players with him. And, you and I talked about this, before we even did it. You take JT Miller away and it affects not only the JT Miller, but it affects Brock Boeser and the rest of the lineup. So Brock, took a little bit of time, but he's back. His goal will come, and they're playing Minnesota in a couple of games, so his goals will probably come there. Loves playing against Minnesota in Minnesota, especially. But I no problems with Brock Boeser's game. Conor Garland again. That's what our chat is absolutely loving in both our social channels everywhere. Asked people, what do they like most about Conor Garland? Canuck in on X says he always shows up. The effort's always there. Only now it's finally paying off in a huge way. You could find guys twice his size with less fight in them. Special player. And I think that's it, right? Conor Garland's one of those guys that you look at it, Jeff, from the outset, probably been counted out his entire career.
Yep.
Because of his size, small guy can't make it. And he's found a niche and carved it out and made himself a really good career out of it. Travis Green, when they made that trade, told me, was not afraid of admitting it, that Conor Garland, when the OEL trade happened, that was probably going to be the biggest piece of this eventually down the road. And then while we're here down the road now, the Canucks tried to trade Conor Garland. Conor Garland switched agents to try and get out of Vancouver. And now he is, among with Kevin Lankinen and a couple other players, the most important players on this team right now. So it just goes to show you how things can change very quickly for a player and how a player can change the narrative about him.
Sabres outshoot the Canucks 18-6 in that third period, aided by a couple of power plays, but the Canucks also had 2 and a little bit because there was a power play that overlapped into the third. So, yeah, I mean, they had the 3-1 lead, score effects, maybe a little too passive, whatever the case. The Sabres get those 2 goals a minute and 39 seconds apart, but credit to the Canucks, bent but ultimately didn't break in this hockey game, and they win by a score of 4-3. As we said, 12-7-3 on the year now. So, again, racking up points here up to 27 points through their first 22 games. And, of course, as Canuck fans know, no Thatcher Demco all season, no JT Miller right now, Filip Hronek out of the lineup indefinitely. Rick Tocchet didn't have much of an update prior to this game, said that Hronek had to talk to a few people, and you wonder if one of them is an orthopedic surgeon, but we won't. Until he sees the medical professional. He's still on the trip, so they didn't send him home. But they're going to be without Filip Hronek for a while. I think that much is evident. So, this was pushing on. They needed a big game from Quinn Hughes. Imagine that. Quinn Hughes had a big game. 2 assists, including the setup to Garland on the winner, and a piece of Canucks history. Because with those 2 helpers, Quinn Hughes, up to 310 assists in his incredible career already, has caught Alex Edler for the franchise lead among defensemen. 310 career assists. So the next helper, and it's going to come soon, probably on Sunday in Detroit. If it doesn't happen there, then by the end of the road trip, Quinn doesn't go many games without points. He will stand alone, and you think this guy just turned 25, kind of feels like he's just getting started, and he's already the most accomplished defenseman that the Vancouver Canucks have ever had. So, a little piece of history on the overtime winner. 28 minutes and 31 seconds for Quinn Hughes. You knew they were going to ask a lot of him in the absence of Filip Hronek. I don't think it's sustainable to think that he can play that much on the regular here. We'll see what Patrick Alvin and the management group have up their sleeves in terms of bolstering this blue line. But Quinn Hughes stepping up, doing his thing, and just another sort of virtuoso performance from the captain.
He's now tied for 7th all time in Canucks assists. Henrik Sedin has 830. Quinn Hughes is young. There's a lot of assists and a lot of hockey that needs to be played, but Quinn Hughes is in on almost every single goal, it seems like. But yeah, special player. And I think the biggest number was he did it in 538 fewer games than Alex Edler. Like that is insanity. Like that, I think, is the thing. Yes, the 300 assists, but in 538 fewer games, Jeff.
The other thing too is he's up to 25 points now in 22 games.
Yeah,
he's 5 points behind Cale Makar with a game in hand here. So where it looked like Cale Makar was going to run away and hide from the pack in defenseman scoring, Quinn Hughes is back within striking distance here, 25 points through 22 games and 5 behind Cale Makar, but does have the game in hand. So maybe a derby there. Quinn trying to defend his Norris Trophy that he won last year, and afternoons like this, playing as much as he did, contributing the way that he did. It's always good for him to do these on the East Coast road swings. I don't know if it's a busy day around the National Hockey League, so I'm not sure if people would have chosen the Canucks and Sabres if they were, just looking for a game to watch. There was a lot going on around the National Hockey League, but the people that did watch would have seen Quinn Hughes do his thing. And we should mention as well, on the Canucks' first goal, the tying goal, DeBrusk scores it. But moments before that, Quinn Hughes breaks up. It made it look so easy. The defensive play that he makes to Reed, the 2-on-1, and then turns the puck up ice, and the Canucks are able to go to the attack. I mean, it doesn't lead directly to the goal. They dump it in and they chase it into the corner. But, if the Sabres score there, it's 2-0. The way the game was sort of trending, who knows if the Canucks have a comeback in them. So even on on a day when he has 2 assists and he sets up the winner in overtime, it's some of the subtle little plays as well that Quinn Hughes is able to make. And I thought that was a huge one defensively. To allow the Canucks to turn the puck up ice and go to the attack. It's
still so funny to me that we have to sit here and have this conversation where, how you just said you're happy or you're. It's nice that Quinn's doing this on the East Coast because the guy's got a Norris Trophy. The only reason why he doesn't get any respect is because Cale Makar has that cup and the Conn Smythe deservedly covered that cup final. He was unbelievable, but it's funny how we can still sit here and say that Quinn Hughes doesn't get the respect that he deserves when he is one of the best, if not the best, technically the best defenseman in the National Hockey League, reigning best defenseman in the National Hockey League.
I mentioned Kevin Lankinen now 9-0 on the road, which is mind-boggling stuff, and it's a stat that stands out. It's not our official stat that stands out, but again, we talked about the save that he made on Thompson in overtime. There were a couple other opportunities there. The Sabres had their chances. We're showing the replay of it here on the live stream. And Tage Thompson's a goal scorer in the National Hockey League. And overtime's all about generating that one great A. Sabres had it, and Kevin Lankinen stares down Tage Thompson, and the Canucks are able to go up ice and score the winner there. So, from Lankinen's standpoint, again, it was a pretty quiet afternoon, doing his thing, makes it look pretty easy out there. And a little unfortunate. He made that save off Pettersson coming to his left when it was 3-1. And I thought maybe all right, maybe that's the save that he needed to lock this thing down. A little unfortunate on the second of the 2 Cousins goals, a double deflection there. Actually, I thought it went off tuck, but they haven't changed it. It is Cousins' goal on the score sheet. So not a whole lot that Lankinen could do on that one. Cousins' first of the afternoon. Didn't love the play that Dakota Joshua made on the sideboards when Cousins kind of spins away and creates a little space for himself and then is able to snap it far side and in. But end of the day, did you win the hockey game? That's what we're asking about Kevin Lankinen. And the answer is yes, because that's just about all he does for this hockey club is deliver victories. And again, short-staffed as they are to grind out a win like this one, they'll take it and they'll move on to Detroit. Let's get to our stat that stands out because I think this feeds into a pretty significant part of this hockey game, in my opinion. When you see it there, the Canucks penalty kill went 5 for 5 on the afternoon. Sabres had some opportunities. They generated 8 shots on goal, but in 10 minutes power play time, Canucks did something to keep them to the outside, limit the opportunities. Canucks penalty kill is up over 80% on the season now. 80.9% is the update after the 5 successful kills in this hockey game. Irf, that is a stat that stands out to me because 2 years ago, they were dead last. They were killing penalties at 60%. And so to see a Vancouver Canucks team defensively minus some key pieces and having a penalty kill that's up over 80%, that is a welcome change in these parts.
Absolutely. I mean, with the man down there, they definitely have no problem, playing a man down. You don't want to, but when they're there, I think it speaks to the structure and the way that they go about killing penalties. And obviously, your last line of defense and your best defenseman is your goaltender, and they're getting some pretty solid goaltending from Kevin Lankinen. But his guys being in the right position. We talk all the time about Soucy and Myers and how bad the pairing is and things like that. But Soucy's not that bad on the penalty kill, right? He does the things properly where he puts himself into situations where he doesn't get lost. It's his 5-on-5 play that's not that great when he was paired with Tyler Myers. But that forward group, right? Led by Blueger, and you have guys like Dakota Joshua is now moving into that penalty killing role and things like that. But yeah, 80.9 or 80.9, pretty good.
It is. And, obviously when you were down in the 60s, there's nowhere to go but up.
Yeah.
But they've kind of quietly just gone about their business, and this is where you want them. And nights like this one, that's a huge factor in this hockey game. Canucks scored a power play goal. The Sabres didn't. One-goal game, special teams certainly play a role in the outcome. Credit where it's due here, just to stick with the stat that stands out. Carson Soucy, 6.5 minutes of penalty kill time. 6:32. He led all Canucks in shorthanded ice time. Tyler Myers, 5:26. Noah Juleson, almost 5 minutes of penalty kill time. He's in the lineup now. He's getting an opportunity. That's an area that he can contribute. 4:51 of shorthanded time for Noah Juleson, and then up front it was Pia Suter with 4:15, and Teddy Blueger, who took a penalty with 4 minutes to go in a 3-all tie. He still logged 4:07 shorthanded and was in the penalty box for the full 2 minutes late in that hockey game. Let's stick with penalties for a sec here, because I thought there were a couple of soft calls in Pittsburgh the other night. They didn't impact the outcome. The better team won on the night. But Irf, we've both been around this game a long time. The cross-check on Elias Pettersson to start the third period? Come on! What are we doing here? Beck Mallenstein back to the Canucks net, tries a little spinorama move. He's 40 feet from the goal. It's not a scoring play. There has to be some contact. It's a contact sport. You got to let these guys bang and crash a little bit. And Petey with a little shove. That's all it was. And somehow in a 1-all tie in the third period, the referee puts the arm in the air and calls that a cross-check again. The Canucks killed it off, so credit to them. But I don't want to harp on the officiating, but that was a terrible call.
Oh, it's soft. I called it soft and weak. You look at the call after, too. Cousins did hold, but it wasn't an egregious holding call, so that might have been the makeup. And then, obviously, Cousins lipped off the ref and got the extra, too. But, yeah, it was terrible. Some of the calls that are made in the National Hockey League right now, you do have to put your hands up in the air. And I think that, Rick Tocchet might have a word with the officials after that, but in any sense, they got the win. The crisis was averted after that, but it was terrible. Elias Pettersson, usually known for the reverse hit and things like that. He's not cross-checking guys in the back where they're going flying. He has no reputation of that. But, yeah, it was terrible. The guy spun around. It was a little shove to the back, and he fell. That's basically what happened. And the ref was right there and made an absolutely horrible call.
Just to do a little bookkeeping here, they have now officially credited the goal to Alex Tuck. So we'll leave Dalton Cousins as the second star. He gets an assist on that goal, but just a 1-goal afternoon for Cousins, his 5th of the year. Tuck gets his 8th of the year. Officially, it is Tuck from Cousins and Zach Benson, the Chilliwack product. 5 minutes to go, 5:03 remaining in the third period. So an official scoring change on that one. Cousins, you're right. It does cut both ways, and maybe it was a makeup call.
Yeah.
Whatever the case, it's called holding, and then he didn't like the call. He gets the unsportsmanlike. We have to mention, though, that there was a dicey moment there for the Vancouver Canucks. With the delayed penalty in effect, the goaltender on the bench for an extra attacker, Jake DeBrusk trying to play the puck back to Eric Brandstrom at the point, gets past Brandstrom, and man, as it moved out of frame on the telecast, I thought it was going to catch a piece of the net.
Yeah, the reverse angle, it stayed in the trapezoid area, so it didn't miss by much.
No.
Yeah. They just got lucky. They got lucky there. Hockey gods were with them this early afternoon game in Buffalo.
Well, we talk about chances and missed opportunities. Let's go back to a second period power play where Tyler Myers to the front of the net. And look, I know that Tyler Myers isn't there to score a bunch of goals, but he's 12 feet tall. Dakota Joshua feeds that puck in front. In real time, I didn't realize how close Myers was to it. You could see body position, but there were sticks and bodies in the way. The replay, particularly the end zone replay, again, you're that tall, just put your stick out. You got a 7-foot long hockey stick. somehow redirect that thing. Here's Conor Garland doing spinoramas in the blue paint to get a stick on the puck, and Tyler Myers, again, not a noted goal scorer, and you saw it on that play. And I was a little worried when that doesn't go for the Vancouver Canucks. I thought, they've been working hard to try to generate a chance, any chance, and to that point they hadn't done an awful lot. And Tyler Myers looked like he had the tying goal on his stick. Alas, it was not to be.
Yeah, the angle of it, it's so bad. Like, you feel bad for him because it's like, what can he do? Like, right here. Oh, you have to put your hands up in the air and just say, man, because you watch Conor Garland do it twice and get him so obviously forward in a defenseman. Tyler Myers maybe not knowing what he is doing up there, but your job is put your stick on the ice and guide the puck to the net, and you just missed it by half an inch.
The Myers chance came later in the second period. Earlier in that second, Elias Pettersson, in tight, when it's still a 1-0 hockey game, showed some pretty good hands. In fact, I like the move that he made, and I think he made the move that he wanted to, but Lankinen's a terrific goaltender. He's not giving up much these days. And so he makes a stop there. We've talked about Kevin Lankinen and all the saves that he made. It happened at the other end of the ice. Still, denied, but I still liked what EP40 was trying to do on that play.
Yeah, just couldn't get it higher, right? Just needed to get that little over the pad. But Elias Pettersson, I think, is now starting to grow a little bit more confidence in his game. I mean, no one said it's deteriorating or anything like that, but just a couple more feet if he would have had, he would have been able to get it up and over the pad there. So credit to Lankinen for making the save, but I like the play from Elias Pettersson. I like what he was thinking on that. He just didn't have enough room to go put it away, Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, I look at the afternoon for Elias Pettersson. He starts the day on that line with DeBrusk and Sherwood, and then Brock Boeser slotted in. Relatively quiet, no points for Pettersson. Does take the penalty that we talked about. Played a lot as Rick Tocchet leaned on some of his top guys, and that will lead us into players that didn't play a lot. You know where that one's going. But for PD, just one shot on goal, 3 attempts. But a good afternoon in the faceoff circle, which is welcome news. He won 14 of 24 faceoffs, so he goes 58% on the draw because they had it on the telecast.
Yeah, I have it here.
Obviously you miss JT Miller in a ton of ways. And here they're protecting a lead in the third period. Miller would play a lot. Overtime, JT Miller would be out there for sure. The power play, some of the penalty kill. So there's a ton of scenarios and situations within the game that JT Miller would help the Vancouver Canucks. But sort of low-key, one area that maybe he's missed more than any other is in the faceoff circle. And I was surprised. Like, we chart the numbers here and crunch them after every game. But the guys on TV had the great stat that since Miller had left the lineup, Canucks dead last in the National Hockey League. And not just dead last, but sinking like a stone. What was it, 35% or something like that?
And then with him, they're top 10, 7th in the league. So, it goes to show you where the Canucks are just missing him, obviously, the scoring or whatever, but it's starting with the puck. Like, JT Miller wins and takes a lot of draws. So you're behind the 8 ball already if you lose every single draw, or one of every 2 or 3 draws you take, you're winning. And I think that's the thing that hurts this team a lot right now, missing JT Miller. But Elias Pettersson, some nights he gets smoked. He was better tonight, obviously, and it's one of the things that they're going to have to work on until they get JT Miller back.
Teddy Blueger went 2-5, so wins 2 of 7 faceoffs. Just a funny scene there in the first period where he was giving it to the linesman. Didn't like getting waved out of the circle. Teddy, not a fiery guy. Like, I know he got in the fight in Florida earlier this year, but pretty even-keeled for the most part. But, yeah, he was none too pleased with that. I don't know what he was saying, but he was giving it to the linesman pretty good.
Well, he was pointing his finger. Like, if there's an unsportsmanlike call to give, that's the one that you call. And then also the referee waved off the Buffalo centerman as well. So their referees are putting on a show against this in this one in Buffalo.
Ultimately, it's the Canucks that put on the show, Conor Garland's show. 2 goals, including the winner in overtime, 3:59 of OT. And the Canucks shuffle out of Buffalo with this 4-3 victory on to Detroit now for the 5th stop on this 6-game road trip. All right, I just want to mention White Spot. If you're thinking about a dinner option here on this Black Friday, White Spot, they're all about enjoying great, comforting food and spending quality time with loved ones. With the new comfort menu, White Spot, focusing on cozy, satisfying flavors that are perfect to enjoy with family. Available now and developed by the White Spot culinary team, the comfort menu is filled with warm, indulgent dishes designed to make you feel right at home. The new menu features mouth-watering new additions like mini Yorkies, the braised beef burger, Homestyle pot roast and backed by popular demand, it is the iconic chicken pot pie. Bring your family to White Spot for a delicious meal, perfect for the season. Visit your local White Spot today. The scoring streak is over for Max Sasson. It ended at 2 games. I thought he was all right in the first period, and then Tocchet shortens the bench once they get a 3-1 lead, so we didn't see a lot of the fourth-line guys. Look, they're down to 12 healthy forwards right now, so unless they put a call into the farm here for the rest of the road trip, I think Sasson's going to stay in, a Michigan guy, getting a chance to play in Detroit. We saw how pumped his family was for a game. And they're going to round up like the extended family. The Sassons they're buying up all the tickets for Little Caesars on Sunday. So that'll be a cool scene, I'm sure, and a big moment for Max Sasson. Every game in the NHL is a big deal, but to go back and play in your home state this early in your career. 9 minutes and 32 seconds of ice time, so it doesn't get to double digits. No shots on goal. Did have a couple of hits and didn't win the one face-off that he took. So sort of an afterthought. I don't think we have to go too deep here on Max Sasson. Again, with 12 forwards, I think he'll stay and play on Sunday again. But it does lead us into seems to be a topic every game now. And it is going from bad to worse for Nils Hoglander. I mean, there's just no other way to, on a day that Kevin Weeks is now throwing Hoglander's name into the mix as trade fodder, so it's reaching national levels. He played 6 minutes and 28 seconds. New season low. Like, it's just, I think it's the third time in 2 weeks that he's established a new season low for ice time. 6 minutes and 28 seconds, and another completely empty stat line, not a shot attempt. He had a couple of hits, but he made a brutal defensive read. I think it was Byram that spun away from him just inside the blue line, and it led directly to like a really good look for the Buffalo Sabres. And that's the kind of thing that you just, if you're not scoring, you can't be allowing those types of defensive lapses and gaffes. And we're seeing it far too often. And clearly the coaching staff's seeing it too often. So, by default, it just kind of feels like third period comes, Hoglander can pretty much take off his skates because he's not going to need them.
Yeah, and look, I think the biggest thing is that, right? There's people complaining about, well, it's hard to do stuff when you only have, this guy's a 24-goal scorer, he's only getting 8 minutes of ice time, but in that 8 minutes, when he was getting 8 or 9 or 10 minutes, he wasn't really doing anything with that either, Jeff. So his ice time's lower. Obviously, a lot of special teams in this hockey game, but, Kevin Weeks reporting, he's told that the Penguins, Capitals, and Columbus Blue Jackets are amongst teams that have explored the possibility. Let's go back to some history of players that don't play a lot under Rick Tocchet. Andrei Kuzmenko, gone. Ilya Mikheyev, gone. Daniel Sprong, gone. Kind of can see where this is going for Nils Hoglander, right? He's got signed a current 3-year, $3 million AAV deal, so it is friendly for some teams to take because you know what you have with him for the next few seasons, but it's going to be interesting to see where the Canucks go from here because obviously they're trying to move him. Obviously there's a need for a top 4 defenseman if you can go and do that, but Nils Hoglander alone isn't going to get you that, right? There's another move or is it another player, or what else is it that's going to go and help you try and improve your defense, because that's the biggest thing. But writing's on the wall here for Hoglander. Like, is he going to be in the press box at some point here soon because he's not getting this much ice time, or is he going to be out of Vancouver, sooner rather than later?
Yeah, just looking at the final numbers for Hoglander on the afternoon, 1 shift in the third period, a 35-second shift, came off the ice with 9:15 remaining, and that was it. So didn't play the final 9 minutes, didn't play overtime, obviously. 1 35-second shift in the third period. And again, this is when they had a 3-1 lead. Like, they had done well to build a 3-1 lead. This wasn't a tie game. This wasn't the Canucks protecting a 1-goal lead or down a goal. This is Rick Tocchet deciding that Nils Hoglander can't help them when they're up 3-1 and wasn't going to risk some of those defensive efforts that clearly he's seen too many of. So it's unfortunate, but you laid it out pretty clear there that there is a track record with this coach and players that just don't seem to fit with him. Hoglander's about to turn 24 here, I think on the 20th of December, so he's inside of a month from his 24th birthday. Has the 24-goal season. Ultimately, is that going to be the high watermark for him in his NHL career? Quite likely. But
it might be, but I think that
there's still a player there.
Yeah, I think he's a goal scorer. I think that, in the right opportunity, under the right system, maybe a different head coach, I think this guy is a 20-goal scorer. Obviously is a 20-goal scorer in the National Hockey League, and he did it with limited minutes last year.
He did. I mean, he did it with an obscene shooting percentage. So
Still put the puck in the net, though.
I hear,
right?
I hear you. But I just having watched him now, like I don't know that he needs to be a 24-goal scorer to help the team. Like I think 15 goals and just being an absolute dog on a bone on the forecheck, and a guy that draws penalties and that kind of stuff. Like, but where is that player? Like he's a shell of himself right now. So it's an unfortunate part of Rink Wide because it just feels like we go down this road every single episode. But it is one of the storylines to continually come out of these hockey games is that this coach and that player just don't see eye to eye right now. And so it's becoming an issue for Nils Hoglander. It's becoming an issue for the Vancouver Canucks, and especially with Filip Hronek out indefinitely, you start to connect these dots, and it certainly makes sense that Hoglander might be a trade piece the Vancouver Canucks use to bolster their back end. We'll see what happens here as they pick up and move on to Detroit. Hey, we've been telling you this for a couple of shows now, and you've probably seen it on socials as well. The Sheet with Jeff Merrick starts on Monday. Merrick goes live on the Daily Faceoff YouTube channel every weekday, noon Pacific. So more hockey talk coming your way. The Sheet has you covered. Jeff's going to be diving into the biggest storylines, shaping hockey today, news, rumors, emerging trends, insights from every corner of the rink, great guests and interviews that are going to bring unique perspectives from all over the hockey world, from seasoned executives to top journalists and Olympic champs. The Sheet's your destination for in-depth conversations with the people that shape the game. So check out The Sheet starting on Monday, December the 2nd, Daily Faceoff YouTube channel, and follow at The Sheet Hockey on all your favorite social media platforms so you don't miss a second.
The crazy thing about, I'm just looking back at Ilya Mikheyev, like he still played in a lot of games with Elias Pettersson. He just didn't do anything.
Yeah, and I remember asking Tocchet if it ever got close to making him a healthy scratch. Because I think he dropped down to about 7 minutes of ice time. A game in Seattle. In fact, I think you were at that game in Seattle in February.
Just skated around.
And only played 7 minutes. And I asked Tocchet afterwards about it, and you could just tell. I mean, he didn't carve the player publicly, but his response and sort of the deep sigh and everything else. But he never got to healthy scratch material. Like, he did play every time that he was available for the Vancouver Canucks. He's already been a healthy scratch a couple of times in Chicago. So, leash not quite as long there on a bad Blackhawks team. Whatever the case, Mikheyev's not here anymore, and you just wonder, will Nils Hoglander be here for a whole lot longer? When I look at some of the other guys in the lineup tonight, Vincent Desharnais returned after missing 7 games, got injured in that Islanders game, had been a healthy scratch the last couple of games. He and Noah Juulsen basically play the same amount of time, 15 minutes and change. Desharnais at 15:51 on the afternoon, 3 hits and 3 blocked shots, but on the ice for 2 of those 3 Sabres goals. So
gave the puck away a few times.
Yeah, it's gonna be a challenge. I think there's a project there, but can Adam Foote and this coaching staff get ahead of it, or is it going to be more issues, especially now that Hronek's out of the lineup? They bring up Mark Friedman. Friedman is depth. I don't know that Mark Friedman's going to get ahead of Vincent Desharnais on the depth chart, but at some point, if the struggles continue, you may see Friedman get plugged in there. Whatever the case, I was a little louder around Vinny Desharnais than it was again around Noah Juulsen on the afternoon. Juulsen at 15:12 here, and we touched on the fact that 5 minutes of that solid penalty killing performance for Noah Juulsen. So it's going to take a team effort. There's no doubt. Rick Tocchet was talking about it before the game. Defense by committee. Remember how many times he banged the drum about defense by committee? Yeah. You got Quinn Hughes is the chairman of that committee, without a doubt, and he's going to play. 28-31. Again, I just don't know that he can play half the game, every game. This is only game 22 of the season. 22 down, 60 to go for the Vancouver Canucks. And, we all believe that Thatcher Demco is getting closer, but he's not back. This is the final game in November, so that answers that question. Was Demco going to get back before the end of November? And there's never been a true timeline on it, but calendar's going to flip here. So whenever Demco gets into the lineup, likely here in the next week or so, it'll be a December start for him. But with 60 games to go, or if I ask you, let's assume that Thatcher Demco gets back relatively soon here and stays healthy. 60 games remaining. Who plays more? Who gets more starts in goal for the Vancouver Canucks? Demco or Lankinen?
Yeah, we'll start with, I don't think Demco plays on this trip. I think the debut is what we think it's going to be against the Columbus Blue Jackets on Friday. Friday night here in Vancouver. I think it's going to be interesting because Rick Tocchet has said that, you can't just pull Kevin Lankinen if when we get Thatcher Demco back, because Demko's the number one goalie. If Lankinen's playing well, he gives them the best chance to their win every single night. It's going to take Demko 10 to 15 games to even get used to being back and playing these NHL games, getting hit by other teams' opposing forwards, having other players in your kitchen. He's even said it. There's only so many times that Daniel Henriksen can shoot you pucks, and how many in practice his own teammates aren't going to take it hard, aren't going to go hard against him, aren't going to rub him and things like that. So I think we're going to have this conversation probably around the All-Star break, the Four Nations break, and see what Thatcher Demko does. I mean, if he comes back and we all know the type of goalie he's capable of being and is that Vezina caliber guy, then there's no question. But if you're saving him for the playoffs and you want him to be at his best for the playoffs, you almost have to play Kevin Lankinen more. But then if you play Kevin Lankinen more and he becomes the guy that is the starting guy, like, how do you do that in the playoffs? Like, what do you just turn to a guy that isn't playing much but he's fresh? Or are you going to go with the guy that's riding the hot hand? Again, not our problem, not our decision to make, but an interesting topic and discussion that we're definitely going to have down the road.
No question about it. And we mentioned right off the top that Rink Wide is brought to you by Bet365. It's time for our line of the day. A busy Friday afternoon on Black Friday. Lots going on around the National Hockey League. A busy Saturday as well. Irf, what's got your attention?
Tomorrow. So I do like 3 Canadian teams, okay? I like the Leafs with Austin Matthews back. The Montreal Canadiens. The New York Rangers are in trouble. The Kreider's going to be out. They're trading Trouba. They're talking about getting JT Miller. What's going on with the New York Rangers? And Travis Green and the Ottawa Senators in LA. I like the Ottawa Senators, so you take all those 3 together, get you some pretty good odds there as well. As this portion of the show, Jeff, brought to you by Bet365, proud partner of Sekeres and Price. Canucks Conversation, you and I here at Rink Wide Vancouver. Open an account with Bet365 today, but in a huge range of markets. Use code NATION. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. And that Arthur Staple column was not really ordinary either, saying that the Rangers have inquired about JT Miller.
Yeah, I just want to throw this out there because a lot of people are, again, trying to connect dots here, and the Rangers seem to be in a free fall. I don't know what's going on, but something is really wrong there in New York. They lose in Philly this afternoon. Jacob Trouba is 30 years of age, has 2 years left at $8 million per. His play has basically cratered. Oh, and on top of that, has full trade protection and a wife who's a doctor, and that's why they wanted out of Winnipeg, because she wants to work in the U.S. So this idea that somehow Jacob Trouba would be a piece that would come this way, I think we saw Trouba in the summertime use his trade protection. Like, that's going to be a complicated matter for the Rangers to stick handle and navigate. I don't see a way that Jacob Trouba returns to a Canadian market.
It's not going to be Trouba. It's not going to be Juracek out of Columbus. I really don't think. I think that one's going to go in a different direction. It's going to be interesting, right? And if Hoglander is the centerpiece there around whatever it's going to be, or he might just be another piece because, the top 4 defensemen and other teams around the National Hockey League are also looking to improve their blue lines as well. So,
and it was this day last year that the Canucks made the Nikita Zadorov deal. So, trades.
It's not Nikita Zadorov either.
But it was around here, and I'm not saying that it has to be the Canucks, but the Canucks got the jump on the market last year around this time. It's U.S. Thanksgiving weekend. We always use that as this barometer. Like, I do think that you're going to start to see we're hearing trade talk percolating. I think you're going to see some of these teams that are floundering a little bit try to shake some things up. So I'm expecting some trade activity, and I know that the old hockey trade not as easy to make now because the dollars all have to line up, but hey, let's see how it all shakes down here. I just kind of, in my bones, I feel that we're going to see a trade or two in the near future around the National Hockey League.
I think it's also interesting last year because they made the trade for Zadorov because the management group felt that they owed it to the team for how good they were playing. And now they're going to have to make a trade because the team needs it. It's 2 completely different directions in what they're trying to do, but it's a desperate need for them, especially now on the blue line.
We've said a few times that the Canucks move on to Detroit. That's another odd start. I mean, this one was noon Pacific, 3 o'clock local in Buffalo. You get a 9:30 Pacific time start. And so, they're kind of odd here on the West Coast, but Tyson in our chat saying, finally able to catch a post game, watching as a Canadian currently living in Germany.
Oh.
Yeah, Rink Wide Worldwide,
yes.
We always ask where you're watching, so we'll add Tyson in Germany. I'm not sure what part of Germany. I was in Berlin in the summer, but there's lots of parts of Germany, so I'm not sure that it has to be Berlin. But whatever the case, Tyson, hey, thanks for the support. Thanks for checking us out. Do it on Sunday as well, because it's going to be another reasonable time for people in other parts of the world. 9:30 a.m. on Sunday, so we'll hit the live stream sometime around noon after the Canucks and the Red Wings, who, is that one finished now? It must be. Red Wings lose 5-4 at home to Jersey. Tyler Mott, I forgot Tyler Mott was in the NHL, to be quite honest with you. Tyler Mott playing for his home state, Red Wings. He scores his first goal of the season. But, we've said this about a few of these games along the way here, that these are gettable games for the Vancouver Canucks, and Red Wings haven't scored a ton of goals. Their power play stinks. So, they got 4 and lost. They'll be disappointed about that because you got 4 in the NHL. You'd like to think that you can get something out of a hockey game. Whatever the case, it's the usual cast of characters. It's Lucas Raymond, it's Alex DeBrincat, and Morris Seider.
Are the Canucks going to get a coach fired?
Yeah,
because there's some rumblings there.
You're right. So
of Lalonde and maybe Joel Quenneville being the answer there. So it'll be interesting to see that as well.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. It was a couple years ago, the Canucks, absolute coach killers. I think there was 3 or 4 teams that the final straw. So we'll see what happens in Motown on the early start on Sunday, 12:30 local time at Little Caesars Arena, but 9:30 here on the West Coast. It is Black Friday, and we should mention that it's time to score big on Nation Gear. Whether you're repping the freshest designs or rocking the classics, this is your chance to snag all your favorites for 15% off. And big news, the brand new My City collection has dropped and is part of the sale, along with the other gear that you don't want to miss. It's your shot to grab the latest styles and the classics at unbeatable prices. Need the perfect gift for your favorite fan? Nation Gear has you covered, from hoodies to hats. Make this holiday season legendary for the hockey lover in your life, and it only gets better because if you spend $200, we're going to throw in free shipping. Don't wait on the sidelines too long. This is a 1-week deal. Shop now. nationgear.ca. All right, 3 of the first 4 go in the favor of the Vancouver Canucks out on this road trip. The Pittsburgh game wasn't pretty for the first 35 minutes or so, but they were able to mount a bit of a comeback there. Didn't play particularly well in Boston, but Kevin Lankinen was brilliant then, and he was really good again here. And I think we both think that it's Lankinen's net until Demco gets back now. So I would expect that you see Kevin Lankinen in goal on Sunday against the Red Wings. And again, they don't have many options for the lineup. 12 healthy forwards, and I don't think Friedman's going to play. So the 18, if they all got out of this game unscathed, I would imagine this is pretty much the lineup that you're going to see again on Sunday.
Yeah, I'm going to really enjoy having this conversation with you down the road about Lankinen and Demko, because it's Lankinen's net right now.
Yep.
But is Demko going to have to earn a spot down the road over Kevin? I know I'm getting ahead of myself. The guy's a Vezina finalist, but it's a conversation that we're going to have because I think that the way that Kevin Lankinen is playing is out of his mind, and you put whoever's in net to give your team the best chance to win. That's Kevin Lankinen.
And now we got Max chiming in from Sweden. Says,
yes.
I share the same sentiment as the viewer in Germany. No, honestly, I as much as we think, these are weird start times and the Canucks haven't fared that well in early starts on the East Coast, there are so many Canuck fans around the world, and we've done that, and we saw it in the playoffs last year. I feel good for these people that love their Canucks, but usually the games are in the middle of the night wherever they are in Europe or in Asia. So for this weekend, at the very least, it is an opportunity to sort of level the playing field. So enjoy these early starts wherever you are, and again, we'll do this again on Sunday. And we'll see if the Canucks can carry on. I would imagine, too, that there was enough there, Boeser and Pettersson with DeBrusk, that if you need the boost from Sherwood, you can sort of plug him in anywhere in the lineup. But I think it was important to get Brock going, and I think that was the right decision by Rick Tocchet to get him higher in the lineup into the second period of this hockey game.
Well, of course, right? You want your guy that's 40 goal scorer in the National Hockey League to play and feel like he's an important part of this team, especially not having to play down the lineup and go and be on the ice in important positions and things like that. And that's exactly what Rick Tocchet went back to doing, and it showed. Brock Boeser's confidence went up, and he looked really good.
Yeah, still waiting for that first goal since the concussion. Yeah. It'll come, but again, just how involved he was and with the puck on his stick, that was a promising sign for the Vancouver Canucks. There was a lot to like in this game. Again, missing the players they are, I'm not sure that stylistically they care what these things look like as long as they're able to grind out victories and getting the goaltending that they do from Kevin Lankinen. And when you've got Conor Garland playing the way that he is, and Quinn Hughes, the great equalizer as well, enough there to push the Canucks over the Buffalo Sabres by a score of 4-3. The Sabres will be here in Vancouver on January 21st, I believe. Somewhere. I may not have the date quite right. Don't have the schedule in front of me, but they'll complete the season series at some point in mid-January. And we should mention, too, that at least this game, remember last year with the snowstorm and the Canucks struggles to get to Columbus from Buffalo, and they had to bus to Toronto, and it was a 1-0 hockey game. Sam Lafferty, who was on the other side, left this game and didn't return. It's been a struggle for old Sam. He has 1 point in 22 games.
Yeah, it's tough.
But the Canucks did win that one 1-0. This one had a little more offense. Ultimately, 7 goals scored, and the Canucks with 4 of them. So they win it by a score of 4-3. All right, Irf, we'll do this again on Sunday, and we'll see how things go. Another one checking in. Lisa from Saigon, Vietnam, watching
it's
on
crazy.
Twitter. Yeah, all right, great. Keep them coming. We love to hear where people are checking us out. That's what we call it, Rink Wide Worldwide. Didn't expect that we didn't have the map here, but we'll add little pins for your contributions here. So next chance to join the conversation will come your way on Sunday after the Canucks and the Red Wings Stottenver 5 on this 6-game road trip. The Canucks rolling in to Detroit after a 4-3 victory over the Buffalo Sabres in overtime. Conor Garland with his second of the afternoon, his 8th of the season at 3:59 of OT. That was it. That was ball game. Canucks defeat the Sabres. So for Mike Rogerson working behind the scenes, we've got Irf and Jeff here. Thanks so much for checking us out. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll talk to you again after the game on Sunday. You're watching and listening to Rink Wide Vancouver.